Hello, everyone. Today we're going to explore one of the most foundational ideas in political science: political socialization. If political culture tells us what a society believes, political socialization explains how those beliefs get there in the first place. So, what exactly is political socialization? Political socialization is the lifelong process through which individuals develop their political beliefs, values, attitudes, and patterns of participation. It is how we learn what government is, what it should do, what rights we have, what authority means, and how we are expected to behave as citizens. And here's what's important: this process does not begin when you turn 18. It begins long before that, often before you can even define the word politics. Political systems do not survive by institutions alone. They survive because citizens internalize certain norms: obedience to law, trust in elections, skepticism of power, civic duty, or perhaps ideological loyalty. Political socialization is the mechanism that makes that possible. Without it, regimes collapse. With it, regimes endure. Now the question becomes, where do these beliefs come from? Who teaches us how to think politically? The first answer is simple and powerful. It begins at home. The family is the earliest and often the most influential agent of political socialization. Before children understand ideology, they observe authority. They see how rules are enforced. They see how conflict is resolved. They experience whether power feels arbitrary or structured. Even subtle things matter. Is politics discussed openly at the dinner table? Is it avoided entirely? Are political disagreements treated as normal or as threats? Research consistently shows that party identification, attitudes toward authority, and even levels of political participation often mirror those of parents. The family forms what we might call pre-political dispositions: habits of trust, skepticism, compliance, or resistance. But eventually the circle widens. Education becomes the next major force shaping political identity. Schools do more than teach civic facts. Yes, students learn about the Constitution, federalism, civil liberties, and branches of government, but education also socializes through experience. Students stand for the national anthem. They participate in student government. They learn to debate. They learn to follow rules. They learn how authority operates inside institutions. In democratic systems, schools tend to emphasize pluralism, participation, and critical thinking. In authoritarian systems, education often emphasizes loyalty, discipline, and ideological conformity. The curriculum is never politically neutral. It reflects the values a society wants to transmit. As individuals grow older, however, another force begins to compete with family and school: peer groups. Adolescence and early adulthood are periods of identity formation. During these years, friends and social networks shape political language, acceptable opinions, and willingness to express dissent. College campuses, workplaces, and social communities often expose individuals to new viewpoints that either reinforce inherited beliefs or challenge them dramatically. Political identity becomes less about inheritance and more about chosen affiliation. But in the modern era, perhaps the most powerful agent of political socialization is media. Historically, shared newspapers and television broadcasts created a relatively unified informational environment. Today, that world no longer exists. Social media platforms, digital news feeds, podcasts, algorithm driven recommendations, these shape not only what we know, but what we believe matters. Media influences agenda setting. It influences framing. It influences emotional responses: fear, anger, hope, resentment. And because media environments are increasingly fragmented, citizens may now inhabit entirely different political realities. Political socialization is no longer uniform. It is personalized, sometimes algorithmically curated. And then occasionally, socialization does not come gradually at all. Sometimes it arrives through crisis. Major political events leave deep imprints. especially during what political scientists call the impressionable years, typically late adolescence and early adulthood, wars, economic collapses, social movements, terrorist attacks, pandemics, Supreme Court decisions, elections that feel existential. The Great Depression shaped attitudes toward government intervention for decades. The civil rights movement reshaped views on equality and justice. September 11th altered perceptions of security and foreign policy. The COVID 19 pandemic influenced views on public health, executive authority, and civil liberties. Political events can reinforce beliefs or disrupt them entirely. And here is something important to remember: political socialization does not end in early adulthood. It evolves through marriage, parenthood, military service, economic mobility, hardship, religious involvement, and civic engagement. Beliefs often stabilize over time, but they are never entirely immune to change. So we must ask a deeper question: is political socialization civic education or subtle indoctrination? Is it strengthening democracy or entrenching polarization? Can democratic systems remain stable without strong shared socialization? And what happens when citizens are no longer socialized into common institutions, but instead into identity based communities? These are not abstract questions. They are central to understanding contemporary American politics. Political socialization helps explain generational differences in voter turnout. It explains why trust in institutions rises or falls. It helps us understand ideological polarization and civic disengagement. Political systems do not survive by law alone. They survive because citizens believe in them. Political socialization is the quiet process through which belief becomes culture, and culture becomes stability. In our next discussion, we will examine how political culture and political socialization interact to shape American democracy. Thank you for joining me. I'll see you in the next lecture.